this morning on ITV. And like I said, this summer we'll surely be looking at electricity challenges, local manufacturers and way forward as it relates to electricity. And also joining me this morning, we have Adetayo Adigbemile, who is also a convener and executive director, Power Up Nigeria, to have you this morning. And also with me also is Ben Agoloye, an economist. It's also a pleasure to have you this morning. Let's hit the ground running because there's no time to delay, darling. Let me start with you, Adetayo. About the challenges facing the sector with the recent hike and the cost of electricity. There was a time where they talked about the Fabian increase in the cost of electricity, though there is no comfort coming from that. How does that affect growth in the electricity sector?
Well, I find it difficult. I'm trying to process your question.
For the local manufacturers.
Well, if I understand what you mean from how it affects the sector, the tariff review that was meant to be done in July was a preset thing.
Yeah.
It was. I say what made it more pronounced was that the new came in, removed fuel subsidy, floated naira, and everybody thought, everyone was going to fall. Some people still think it's going to happen, but I don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, that's why the tariff review thing became a talking point. But going to the issue of the local meter manufacturers, my organization has been at the forefront of this advocacy. Going to 10 years now, and we keep saying that we should look inward in solving our problems. Now, why this particular issue came up at this point is that we have a $155 million loan, World Bank loan, that we are supposed to access, and it was meant to install 1,250,000 meters. And the conditions that was put around it, something that is out of the of the local meter manufacturers. So the fear is this, and thank God we have an economist here, so he's going to cover up for me exactly. Why do we keep borrowing to fund consumption in this country? Why do we keep taking World Bank loans to solve a problem that we don't have a solution for in-house? So we'll take the World Bank loan, we'll take it to China to go and import meters. Now, part of the interesting part of that argument for me is that these are devices that also have lifespan. So within the next 10 to 15 years, we are going to beg World Bank again, that loan, right? To replace those meters. And with the kind of huge metering gap that we have that exists presently in the country, it's baffling me not looking. And I keep saying this. I don't think Germany as a country will have Siemens will go to China. If they want to go to China, they will go through Siemens. Siemens is at the forefront of, and Siemens is taking technology from China and domiciling it. So why are we not taking such a loan and looking at meter manufacturers and saying, you know what, company X, this is $1 million for you. I need 100,000 meters from you within next. What that does is the company will now have to run, even if they don't have the capacity on ground existing, they have to run from pillar to make sure that it's done. So if they are running one shift before, they have to now run 2-3 shifts. Now, they don't just run 2-3 shifts by mouth. It is by employing. It's not the same workforce that is going to deliver it. They will employ more. So that means we can triple, the workforce deliver. So when we are talking about domiciling the development, we have companies already that can. So why don't you start from what they can do? That's one. Part of the thing we keep also saying is use such money, to build the ecosystem, the metering manufacturing ecosystem. Reported that an average meter, those meters that you have in your house, an average meter has about 16 components, right? So why don't you say, Tolu, you produce component A, component B, I produce component C. Now, if somebody else now sees the way Tolu is producing his own component, I can do it cheaper and match its quality of delivery, then he comes in and do it. So let
let me come to Mr. Ben this time around. We're looking at it from the economic perspective. Government bringing money to local manufacturers. But we have instances where the local manufacturers have failed to meet up, even when there is investment available to them. Is there no problem of trust that making government to say, okay, let me find a short-term solution while I think about the long-term solution? What are the effects of this?
Well, aside from the issue of trust, I think we need to look at it this way. You are thirsty, you need to drink water, you can sink a borehole, but you're not going to wait until your borehole is ready before you start drinking water. Between when your borehole will be ready, you must survive. Yeah. So I think that if 4, 5, 6 years ago we had 4 million metering gap, insisting on local manufacturers supplying them is, for me, not the best way to go. What effort have we made at investing in local research in our universities? Our manufacturers actually partnering with the local institution. Check across the schools. Nigeria has the highest number of censored PhD candidates across the nations that I know.
Yeah.
I'm an information professional, and I can tell you that.
Yeah.
In the world, there is a grant from a company, there is a grant from an institution before you embark on your PhD research sometimes. And so when you are done, you are employed, others are engaged in the line and they can continue to develop. So if you are waiting until you can sink your own bowl to drink water, you would definitely die of thirst. Now, we also need to look at this. We did privatization almost 10 years ago. Yeah. The discourse have come. Yes, they keep talking about, oh, there is time for them to increase tariff. But there is also time for them to have supplied meters. Are they saying that they did not factor that in at the point of coming on board? What was the plan as of that time for this the metering gap? Yeah. Or are we saying they are not aware? If they are not aware, based on what data, based on what record, did they come in to invest? And of course, when we buy energy issues, I always think that we should be looking at distributed generation as against you want to generate, you want to transmit. Power is like rain. When rainwater falls, leave it for 2 days. The ground will what? Will go dry if it has not been containerized and has not been used away. We've got solar, we've got wind, we've got a lot of hydro potential. At this moment, there is no evidence that we are doing 40% of our hydro capacity, for instance. You don't have to do centralized. You can decide to say, okay, this village can solar. There should be multiple alternatives. Not somebody sitting there at one point and insisting, I've already calculated what I'm supposed to make, and let's go here. Yes, you see people come and say, yes, they have invested. Nobody is arguing that. But if the investment is not enough, the result won't be there. There is no reason 10 years down the line why people should still be on estimated billing. The fact that the discourse can collect estimated billing is one of the reasons why everybody is playing politics with metering. If they cannot collect estimated billing, they would have been concerned. Estimated billing means people paying for darkness. You don't have light for a whole month or two, and you are made to do what? To pay a fixed amount over the 2 months period. So if I can collect that from you, why should I bother about metering you? So I think the issue, therefore, is beyond that of trust. It has to do with the fact that, okay, what are the indicators for DISCO? When they do not meet it, does anybody question anyone? Or we are just patting them on the back? Say, okay, I said, in 6 months, meet up the metering gap. New buildings, at least in this town, new buildings come up every day. New estate projects come on across the nation. Go ahead and meet us to meet the immediate demand. And then you go into partnership to produce. Bring the companies here. We are next month. We are likely going to need between 500 million meters every year at the rate we are building houses. So you don't have to keep the people that are already thirsty waiting for the borehole that you are still doing geological survey to identify.
That takes him back to Aditya right now. While we're talking about this needs, meeting up with the need. We talked about funds being made that have been able to assist the local manufacturers. For instances, where the local manufacturers do access those funds, they don't get to meet up with the need. We talked about the last 10 years, trying to meet the military needs of the people. It takes a lot. You have to lobby at times to be able to get better.
So, I don't want us to conflagrate issues here.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be able to sort it out.
Okay.
I mean, we've had of metal manufacturers.
Yeah.
Some metal manufacturers are sending funds and being used. Some, you know, see, when you put down a policy that is not well thought out,
Yeah.
right? Yes, I think it's only natural that anybody that sees a way to, you know, start on business. They are businessmen, they will do it.
Yeah.
But when you put out a well thought out plan, right, and you put checks and balances, I mean, it's only natural that when they try, you're able to checkmate them at some point. If I get your argument right, you are referring to even the phase zero.
Yeah.
The truth was that when federal government came up with that thing, people like us came up and said, come, you are doing this, but you didn't put checks and balances. You don't, I mean, this stops, if federal government could invest such an amount of money, not just stops them from putting civil society organizations, you know, as oversight. What do we call them? Mystery shoppers.
Yeah.
So that they know precisely what's happening in each region and each zone. So there can be independent report to say, oh, we are observers, we saw what happened and we're able to. My organization did something very similar to it. We were involved at some point and we're able to give federal government feedback on these things. So you can put that on to human frailty. You can put that on to, you know, but this does not remove the fact. I mean, I'm surprised when you were saying, if you're on, you didn't become testy today. You didn't become testy yesterday. So the moment you get used to that quick time intervention, it becomes your mainstay. Is this sustainable? That's the question. Is this sustainable?
No.
Because we need, he said something while he was talking, he said because of the number of buildings coming up, that we have, we probably need 500 and a million per annum. Good. So what it means is that if you don't build the capacity yesterday, if you don't plant the tree yesterday, what's the next best time to do it? Now, we cannot continue. It is irrational for us to continue to take loans to eat. We're not taking loans to plant.
Yeah.
We're not taking loans to build structures that children will meet in the next few years.
Yeah.
But we are taking that because we are hungry today. So they give you a seed and you swallow it. Then what are you going to eat tomorrow? So while his argument on one end, I agree with him to understand need, right? But the question is, because the storm is going, you don't shift the same way.
Okay.
You need to calm down.
Okay, let me just put it this way. Is it not better?
Yes.
In trying to privatize the energy sector.
It's privatized. We're trying. It's privatized.
But we see more back to the government.
It's a regulated. It's a regulated industry.
Yeah.
Now we have come from in Nepal where, thank God, he is here. In the days of Nepal, can you sue anybody or can you even not this kind of conversation? Do we have it? No. But I chose to look at this conversation from where were we? Where are we
now? Where are we going?
What have we passed through? What are the lessons in it? Now, when the privatization was done, part of the KPIs was meter consumers. But the discourse can start saying, oh, we don't have money, for blah, blah, blah. There was people like, I mean, okay, let me be modest about this thing.
Yeah.
My organization championed it and said, you know what, why don't you take this thing away from these schools and let us have independent meter manufacturing, independent meter service providers. That's what we used.
Okay.
That was what evolved. It was that advocacy that evolved into having MAP today.
Would the policy have been? Will it have saved us the current facing now?
It was protected. No, let me tell you something. When you get a anybody a hole.
Yeah.
You know, they say he will hold to his own side,
said,
right?
yeah.
So when the policy regulation was put on the table,
Yeah.
of course, people that are aware with that, this was going to suit us, this was going to suit us. The people that is helps, they join them,
Yeah.
right? But one of the things, when the regulation came out, we wrote a rejoinder to that regulation itself, and we reviewed it and said, come, what you have just done is to open up some other issues that are on today. Part of the reason we're even trying to get the meters away from the discourse. I mean, we are talking about this power sector reform.
Yeah.
Reform means that you do this today, it didn't work.
It didn't work. You change it.
You know, and that's part of the fight we have. We've been, as a running battle that we've been having with the regulators. You are the one that is implementing the law. The 2005 law that we had, Electric Power Sector Reform Act, was something that was done in a vacuum. No, it was not tested to any market, nothing, it was not done to any, you know. So by the time they implemented it in 2013, eventually, when it matured in 2013 and they started implementing it, it's the job of the regulators to look at what are the lapses and try immediately. So when the issue of metering came, I will tell you where we started our battle from. The issue of this. Whether you have light for a month or not, you are a particular amount that you will pay, whether there is light or not. Then we said, what is the sense in it? What is the incentive? What is the motivation for anybody to want to do anything? Since I can sleep for 30 days and charge you 600 naira. There's no incentive. So it was reworked into the tariff. We moved it out. So if the fixed charge is not, it's not charged tuition. So if you have light for 2 days, that's what you pay for. If you light constantly, then you are paying the premium. So that's where we started from. Then these schools are not able to meter. Take this away from them. They took it away partially. We are still saying from them totally. So that it needs a meter. It doesn't have to wait. At that point, we will now ask ourselves, does it make sense for me to produce it locally, or we continue to feed industries in China? So that Chinese people will remain in factories, while our own people, we are humans, like you say. Yeah. But is that the right thing for us? So those are the kind of, or saying now that we are assessing this kind of loan, $155 million. Are we money around so that China will take over 100 of it again, and they will feed their own children, their industries will run in, and we will still remain. I'm coming back to you on this, no because that's one crucial area that where does that loan go to? But this brings me back to the issue about locally manufacturing our meters. It increases our IGR. And when you look put into consideration the population of this country, we can't afford to continue to rely on bringing those things from abroad. How do we meet up that we're able to ensure that the local manufacturers are able to produce that will meet up to the demands of the people?
See, I remember about 2012, the demand for power for solar panel was going higher in Germany. Yeah. And importation was coming from China. And some people rose up in the EU to say, we have to block this and that and that. Yeah. And what the German firms did was to say, okay, let's have a quality test. If they can provide the same quality and their price is lower in the immediate, then the market has to accommodate it until we reinvent our own process to get a price that is lower. Forever we have said we're not going to subsidy because we are waiting to have local refinery. Yeah. But NNPC is paying some people with crude. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And so if you are paying them with crude, they can refine and bring it back for you. That way, it's an incentive for them never to local refine. When you also come to the disco, we need to be very clear. Just like a lot of things in that process of privatization. For me, you've got generation, there is transmission, there is distribution, and there is marketing. So I think that leaving marketing 100% at unbundling in the hand of the discourse.
Which is what he said.
Yeah. But if you are given them, of course, I will keep insisting. Demand charges are gone, but estimated billing is not gone. And estimated is an award for paying for darkness.
He talked about the loans being collected, not getting to the local manufacturers. How did because I'm still coming to him. Because at times you talked about consumption, not looking about manufacturing. And if we want to raise our IGR, there has to be things has to be manufactured in this country for us IGR, for us to also be able to provide jobs. How do we reach a level where we can be able to cut those waste?
You see, I would keep insisting. When you are already hungry and thirsty, the first thing to do is not to sink your own bowl and.
But we've been hungry for 20 years.
Fine, but we have not been able to feed.
Yes.
If you are hungry and you are not fed, you cannot work. For me, where is the investment in engineering the meter from the investor? I went to the University of Technology. We talk about technology reliance, but your projects are done by you, and then it gathers dust. The local industries, what are they doing
to assist,
to promote
research
and development? Because if that is what we've been doing for 20 years, the chances are that we would have moved beyond where we are. Yeah. But the idea is they are still going to bring their equipment by the country, feeding on that were done offshore. So we've got to move from here. You want to drink water in the immediate, but you want to say, okay, 4 years down the line, 5 years down the line, we stop importation.
So there has to be the investment.
But in the moment, you can, okay, you can take in what you need, or 7% of what you need, leaving the 30% to the variance that is of the immediate, so that new buildings will come up every year.
I understand. I am stealing myself from interjecting him at some point, because I would have loved to know how much knowledge do you have about local meter manufacturing? Do you know how many companies we have? Do you know their capacity? Do you know what they can do? You know, maybe if you have a bit of an insight into that, you'll be able to understand that, you know, we have a present capacity.
Okay.
We don't need universities. We are not at the stage of going to universities for research. No. We have a present capacity. We have a company in this country that can do everything.
Can it meet up the needs of the Nigerians?
Can do everything from beginning to the end. At least we have two manufacturing companies in this country. They don't have to step to Cotonou to go and bring
any part of the military to manufacture.
Everything is done in Nigeria, from software to panels to everything, to meter box to paint, everything in this country.
So what's holding them?
Funds. Now one of these companies, one of these factories we are talking about, has been since 2005 generator. It's not connected to the national grid.
What's wrong with solar?
You can no, please listen. Okay. I understand we have a problem. I understand. See, I understand we have a problem.
Yeah.
But I doubt it.
Yeah.
You keep insisting on solar. Do you know? Can you mention one country in the world that has been industrialized with solar? None.
We are not,
because solar does not. So let's just power those things. It doesn't have the capacity. Yeah. It does not.
Okay. It does.
We'll mention one country in the world.
We get to that. But let's address it. Not really our friend. The fund loans being collected by federal government, not getting to the main manufacturers to develop their product. How do we break this?
Now it's a policy issue.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look at this World Bank loan we are talking about. I mean, the bid process. Let me just speak to it here. There are 5 major issues that I want to like 4. One of them is that, well, they broke down the bids into 5 slots.
Yeah.
They grouped the discos into 5 places.
Yeah.
Each company that wants to apply for any particular bid, any of the slots, needs to have a minimum of $3,000 as bid security. Then their financial flow, cash flow, has to be between $4.6 million and $5 million. Now, how about $6 million? Now, let me tell you something.
We may not be able to take all of that because they are waiting for me. So hopefully we can continue discussion. Probably a time not really our friend I've been in network today is waiting. But I will still hold you down your thoughts on that,
No
and
problem.
hopefully we can continue this line of discussion right there. Time not really, our friend. We just have to wrap up this discussion. I know Daniel is waiting right there from the Benin Network Studio. My name is Ogutimene Lokpo, and I've been with Nande Tayo talking about the local manufacturers as it relates to meeting the demand of the meeting the metering demands of the people. Daniel, you have the last say, right?
Absolutely, thank you. That was a fantastic one with you and your guests. I think maybe you should have a part B of this discussion subsequently on the show, Tolulokbe. All right, from the Benin Network Center. All right, from the Benin Network Center, we'll be wrapping up from here. Thank you so much for being part of today's edition of This Morning on ITV, reaching you live from our network studios. I'm Daniel Praise Osedebame. Good morning.